welcome everybody to this Theta Healing DNA webinar. It's a Theta Healing Amazing Stories webinar, and I would like to introduce immediately our special guest tonight, who is Tamra Oviatt. Hello, Tamra. Tamra?
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Thank you for inviting me.
Ah, thank you for being
I'm
on the
so good.
webinar.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, no, it's a pleasure. I know that you have a lot of things to share about Theta Healing, so I'm really glad that you are here. So first, I would like to that you introduce yourself. How long have you been doing Theta Healing, and how did you come across a simple presentation about yourself? What is your background? Go, start from
Okay.
the very beginning.
Okay. Okay, perfect. All right. When I was a little baby, no, I'm just kidding. um I was, I knew years ago and growing up that I could manifest and have things create, and that I had connection to the angels and the spirits because when I was like 18, I grew up Christian and knew God healed and knew about God and stuff. And when I was 18, my cat was really sick and they couldn't find anything wrong with her. And I've spent all kinds of money for x-rays and all kinds of tests and we couldn't figure out anything wrong. And she was just really lethargic and her stomach was really swollen and she was normally a very skinny cat. So one night I laid my hands on her and I guess you should say went up and prayed, and the next morning she was totally normal, like she had never been sick. So I thought that was pretty cool, but I was just really not into understanding what I was doing and stuff, and was continuing in with my life. And I had a boyfriend that had a motorcycle, and we were going to go on this motorcycle ride picnic. And in my head, I kept hearing, "Don't get on the bike, don't get on the bike, don't get on the bike." So I told him I didn't feel like I should get on the bike, and argued with him about it. And he won the argument. I got on the bike. We got in a motorcycle accident, and if I wasn't wearing a helmet, I'd be dead. It was a really nasty accident, and actually really changed my life on where I was going at that time,
Okay,
and
wow.
made things pretty difficult. So that was one time when, yeah, the angels were telling me, or God was telling me, whoever you want to say was telling me this information. I wasn't listening very well. And then I was married and had two kids,
Okay.
and to this man that I mean, I loved him. I manifested him. I got exactly what I wanted. I wanted a computer nerd because I thought they made good husbands, and in a lot of ways he was, but I knew I needed to get out of that marriage, and I started listening to Tony Robbins at
Really?
that time, and got empowerment and manifested a really good job.
Yes.
Yeah, that was like, I don't know, 16 years ago.
Okay.
I manifested. I said, okay, I want a job making $100,000 a year.
Okay.
So I went on one interview, I got a job, and I was selling machine tools, which are CNC machines, computer numeric controlled machines. They cut metal. And really before in that industry, it was only men. And I was like one of the first women in the industry, which was really cool because I could get in back doors and stuff, easy to get, to talk to the engineers. And I was enjoying my life. I was making really good money. I manifested a house and I bought this big, beautiful house, but I kept hearing, "Don't buy this house, don't buy this house." And I bought it anyways.
Yes.
And at the time I was bipolar and learned I was bipolar at that time and started getting medications and stuff for it to try to help me. I knew nothing about the healing arts except my experience, with the voices telling me different things at different times, didn't really understand it. And so I bought this house, and at the time we used to play with Ouija boards and stuff.
Yes.
Not a good idea. Anyways, my house was really haunted, and there was all these weird things that would happen in my house. My friend's daughter was thrown off the top bunk of the bunk bed. My kids were all little, and she broke her arm. And there was just all kinds of weird things going on. So my friend and I, we decided we're going to do a seance and we're going to clear out the house, right? We're going to send all the spirits out of the house. So we set up this table in front of the fireplace and put a tablecloth over it. And I used to be an antique dealer when I was married. So I had all these figurines, these different types of figurines, but they're all like ceramic or glass.
Mm-hmm.
And I had 8 of them, two, 4 male and 4 female pairs sitting on this table with what's called the 7-day candles that are in tall pillars of glass, you know, and they burn really slow like you'll see in Catholic churches and stuff.
Okay.
So my friend's over and we do the seance and we request all the spirits to leave the house. And I was the only one home, and it was a 2-story house. And I was in bed and asleep. And at 6 o'clock in the morning, I heard this big crash. And I went, so I just laid back down and I heard in my head, here's that voice again, get up. And I'm like, no, I'm not getting up. I'm tired. And I heard again, get up, get up, get up now. So I went, okay. So I got up. I looked downstairs. My living room was on fire.
Mm.
So I ran downstairs and got a bucket of water, took a couple buckets of water to get the fire out. Don't ask me where the bucket came from, but there was a bucket in the kitchen by the sink. And I think back to that now, it's like, where did that bucket come from? So I got the fire out, and you know, I had really nice cushy carpet and stuff, and that table was in tiny little pieces, the glass table.
Yes.
And remember the 8 figurines I told you about?
Yeah.
They were all beheaded. All their heads were broken off.
Okay.
And that's when I realized that you don't mess with spirits. And that was obviously before Theta Healing, when I realized you could just find their name and send them the light, because I really pissed somebody off. So that was a really amazing awakening. And then I just kept hearing in my head that same voice that told me not to buy the house, not to get on the bike, to get up and get downstairs, kept telling me what I was doing I wasn't supposed to be doing. And I had a really nice company going. I ended up going off on my own and repping all these really good companies in my area. And I was like #1 salesperson in the United States. Throughout, you know, all the states of the United States, I was selling most of the machinery and doing really well. But that same voice kept telling me that this wasn't what I was supposed to be doing. I was supposed to be healing. I was supposed to help people heal their lives. And I didn't understand what they meant by that, because I knew nothing about the healing world, absolutely nothing. So I thought God wanted me to become a doctor or something. I just went, okay, God, you know, I know if you're calling me, I'm here for you. Show me the way. And, you know, I had some belief systems about people that work for God were really broke. Remember those belief systems I had, which obviously I lived. Now going through Theta Healing, you know, I've learned that. But so with that prayer, when I said, okay, God, show me the way, everything I knew in my life fell apart. This guy I was dating that I was totally in love with, we broke up. I sold my house. I closed my company. And I went into a really, really bad depression. Remember I said I was bipolar. Well, for years I was bipolar, but I was on the upswing. I was always happy. I was always excited. I was a little wild and a lot of fun. I don't mean wild in a bad way. I mean wild in a fun way. We just always had a really, really good time, my friends and I.
Okay.
And always really enjoying
And
ourselves.
suddenly, when you ask God to,
Well, so then we went in.
when you ask God to guide you, then you are everything fall apart, and you are in the middle of the troubles.
Yeah, I mean, I went down, and it was, I remember I was in that really deep depression, and remember when 9/11 hit. I could lay in bed, and the only thing that kept me going were my children. And I was going to all these different psychiatrists, or not all these different psychiatrists, but they're trying me on all these different types of drugs and stuff, which just made me worse. And actually, at one point, I was so depressed, I just didn't really feel like I could do anything or survive. And I now know, well, so anyways, I got like suicidal. I was going to leave. I told my ex-husband that he was doing a good job with the kids, to take good care of him when I was out of here.
Mm-hmm.
And I now know that was the medication talking. But I chickened out. I didn't go anywhere. I was going to drive off a cliff. And I turned around and I just kept praying, God, I need healing. I need healing. I need help on this. You want me to be a healer. I need help. And I met this amazing hypnotherapist that studied in India
Mm-hmm.
for many years. And he was my first teacher. And he taught me imagery and guided meditation and stuff. And I saw these amazing things that would happen to me in the future, which some of them have already happened. But I was still bipolar, and I just kept praying. So I was helping people. I was working at this church. We were doing healings on Sundays, and I could really help people with my guided meditation and stuff. And they got a lot out of it, and I was really busy. And but I just kept praying for the healing on the bipolar disorder. And I met this woman, which everybody I think really knows her now, is Jo Dunning. And at the church, she was doing what was called a pineal gland initiation.
Mm-hmm.
Us in Theta Healing know that very well. And when I went to this initiation, I set my intention to heal from my bipolar disorder.
Okay.
And after that night, I received complete healing of my bipolar disorder from the pineal gland initiation. So I started getting in balance. I was off of all the medications within 30 days. And I had a friend monitoring me that knew me for years to make sure that I was okay, doing this. And the first thing that I realized about normal human brains is that they're really boring compared to where I normally was, of this, really hyper excited person that could have 6 conversations at once. I could be typing online, I could be doodling, and I could be talking to someone and listening to someone else talk. That kind of went away. I'm a little more linear now. In which I realize now is I wasn't really totally in my body, and that I was, on those higher vibrations where you can do all that at the same time and understand that.
Uh-huh.
But at that time, I came more into my body. And what's funny is that first hypnotherapist works in the theta brainwaves. In his books on theta, he has information on theta brainwaves and manifesting and stuff on it.
Really?
But I didn't really get it at that time, on the theta healing part of it. Yeah. And then I would get these books that would fall off the shelf. Remember Edgar Cayce? Well, Edgar Cayce would go into a theta brainwave.
Mm-hmm.
You know how he would go into a trance?
Yes.
He was going into theta. So here Creator is throwing these books off the shelf. Read this, read this. I would read some of his case studies and I'd get bored. But anyways, I didn't get it that I was supposed to be theta healing, that I was supposed to be getting. So anyways, I went through Jo Dunning's advanced training on the pulse technique, and she's an amazing healer. And I was doing my healing work in hypnosis at that time, and I was really broke. Well, remember, I had the belief that people work for God are broke, right?
Yes, sure.
So, of course, I was broke. But you know what? I lived waterfront. I mean, now we all know that with the beliefs and stuff, but I didn't get that totally at that time.
Mm.
But I remember when I would clear people with the pulse technique, I knew anytime you cleared something, you need to replace it.
Mm.
So I would always replace with unconditional love or whatever Creator told me at that time. And what's funny is I was living at the beach. On my balcony was sailboats everywhere. Just beautiful location, but I was broke. And I was teaching classes on how to talk to your angels. And I remember it was Christmas, and it was like December 3rd or 4th. And I didn't have my rent, and I was going to have to pay a late fee, and like the next day if I didn't come up with my rent, I didn't know where it was going to come from. And I went down to the beach, and I was screaming. I was yelling at God. I'm like, all right, God, you want me to do this work, you want me to be a healer, then you need to give me some freaking money, and I mean it, and I want it now, right?
Yes.